G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we've got some unexpected news. We woke up this morning and they've already revealed the next teaser for the next DLC pack. I think a lot of people were expecting that maybe we'd get one, maybe two more packs and they'd be pretty spread apart over time. But this one's already been revealed, so we're probably expecting that the pack itself is out within the next month or so. I'm thinking probably we're looking at June, maybe early July for this pack. So if we look at the pack, obviously the headline animal here is the honey badger, and I think most people associate that with Africa, but if we look in the background we can definitely see what looks to be a lion-tailed macaque in the background, and it's harder to make out, but I think it's definitely elephants in the far distant background there as well. So it looks to be like this should be a India pack. I think most people have agreed on that. Potentially it could be maybe some kind of grasslands pack, but it looks definitely sort of India focused, which is super exciting. I've personally thought that India, if we're looking by region, India is definitely the most lacking compared to the biodiversity of that area. Probably followed up by the Amazon, which is pretty funny because we just had the Americas pack, but the Amazon is just severely lacking even after that. But this is not a complaint. This is a video to go into the details of this potential India pack and see what it will contain. So a lion-tailed macaque is awesome. I think if we've just talked about by region, if we look at by taxonomic groups, I think primates are sorely lacking, and it's great that we're getting a new monkey species. The honey badger itself is really cool. Everyone loves the honey badger, and I think it's a pretty good staple of a lot of zoos as well, which is something that you do obviously want to consider. Aside from that, the elephants in the background are probably a little more, I wouldn't say disappointing, but one of those things that they're not as exciting. When you look at the potential for all the animals in India, and we already have an Indian elephant, most likely we're expecting maybe that's a Sri Lankan elephant, which is part of the subcontinent, so it would fit within the pack, but it's obviously going to be very similar to the existing Indian elephant, not even mentioning that we already have the African elephant as well, so it's already not a clone but a very heavy overlap between those two. To get a third one is a bit like of a wasted opportunity in my opinion. So if we look at the Arctic pack, which is a while back now, the teaser for that included I think the bison, and that was already in the game, so potentially this is just an Indian elephant and they're not going to include that. So that's my fingers crossed situation right now. It's not the end of the world if they don't include something else and we just get a new elephant, but it would be a little bit of a nuisance, I suppose. So that's what we know, but if we look at speculating as to what else will be in this pack, I think most people are mainly concerned about the habitat species, and that's definitely my first thoughts go to that. So the first thing that I think, and this goes against what I said before, but I have always wanted the Asiatic lion in this game. It's one of my probably top 10 most wanted species. I honestly can't explain why. I just think lions are really cool, I guess. So I'm hoping that we do get one of those, even though I did say that the elephants are a wasted opportunity. I also think that the West African lion that we have in game is, not the best modeling and all that stuff. It's a little outdated, so it'd be nice to have an updated lion model and raise a little awareness. I mean, these are things that if this was a real world zoo, it's nice to be able to see that, oh yeah, there's Asiatic lions, I didn't even know they existed. So a lot of people would see that at a zoo and think, oh wow, and then you can have fundraisers and things. I don't think they're critically endangered yet, but they are not in a great state, so that's the type of thing that zoos exist for. I think the black buck is a super obvious species, and I don't know if there'd be anyone that would be surprised to see the black buck. I think most people would have that as the most obvious insertion for the next habitat species. Other than that, I hope that we get a new bird. There is the greater adjutant stork, and there is the demoiselle crane, which I did have to just Google how to pronounce that. And those are two of the birds that I've seen. I think most people prefer the demoiselle. I saw the greater adjutant and would really like that personally, but it's always good to add new birds to the game. They are underrepresented, but there's also the obvious explanation that we can't really get the aviary birds just yet, so hopefully we get one of those. After that, I'm going to guess that the elephant is the Indian elephant, and that would allow us to include the gaur, which is a super just stacked out looking cow, really. It's just so muscly. They look absurd. I think that would be the exact type of animal that would be cool to see at a zoo, just looking absolutely buff. And then lastly, I think the Asian palm civet is something that we don't really have a lot of civets in that type of representation. I think the fossa is a type of civet, but other than that, they are a really widespread family of animals, and we don't really have much representation of them. So I think I'd rather see that than I've seen people suggesting things like the fishing cat and that type of thing. I would rather see a slight difference in that type of species. We've already got plenty of cats, so a civet would be really nice to see. After the civet, that leaves us with the honey badger, the macaque, the lion, the black bug, the adjutant stork, the gaur, and the civet. I still feel like we could justify an 8th species, and that would have to be an exhibit species. I feel like if you're going to have an exhibit species again in the game, this is the perfect time to start reintroducing them. It's obviously been a little while. The reason I think this is the perfect opportunity is twofold. Basically, we already have an Indian construction pieces pack in the game, meaning that while I'm sure there will be construction pieces added with this update, it's not going to be probably the main or even the secondary focus of the update. And as a result, that justifies potentially spending a bit more time on the species. The other reason is that I would argue the probably second most iconic Indian animal after the tiger would have to be the king cobra. And we obviously don't have that in the game yet. It has been sorely lacking for a while, in my opinion, and this would be the perfect opportunity to add it as an exhibit animal. It would also allow for a reintroduction of the exhibit animals, which would potentially be something that they could keep calling back on in the future. And that's probably the last part of this that I did want to talk about, is the timeline of this. We only really had the last teaser only a couple months ago. I think most people were expecting that we would be getting this pack in late 2025, and this might have been the final ever pack for Planet Zoo 1. But the timeline of this has really changed this for a lot of people, I think. We're probably looking at seeing another pack, maybe even 2 more packs in this year with the timeline that we've had between these two. Now, obviously, we don't know, we can only speculate, but it seems quite likely, actually, which is super surprising and also super exciting, which is huge. And that's probably why I think starting that process of reintroducing the idea of exhibit animals in packs might be a promising thing for future packs as well. Makes it a little easier to just add a little bit of extra content to spice things up even further. But what do you think? Is there any species here that I've sorely missed? I know for a fact there are many, but I had to limit myself to 8. Which ones would you like to see? Which are the ones you disagree with? Which are the ones you agree with from me? And what do you reckon this means for the future of DLC for this game? Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and just lastly, it's been a little while between my last upload for the Wirradale Zoo. I've had a lot going on in real life, but I've just started to get back on that train, and we'll be releasing that next episode shortly, hopefully. So if you were wondering, I know there's probably not a lot, but if you were, that'll be out soon. And otherwise, thanks for watching, and have a good one.